Hello, I'm here in New York at the Williamsburg Hall of Music, or Music Hall. I don't really know. It's a very fancy place that I shouldn't be in. It's far too cool. With White Lies, who are another really cool band that I should not be talking to because forever I am outshone by your fashion sense and your coolness. So I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. We don't receive compliments like that very often.
I actually feel like every time I go outside the venue that we shouldn't be here, and that everyone who's walking around is gliding around on such a wave of cool. Still, that we are actually quite out of place. Like, we're not a cool band. They don't know that outside here because they don't know who we are. But if they knew who we were, they'd be like, "Get out! You're not Yesayer, or you're not MGMT. We only hang out with cool bands around these parts."
Yeah, who did you manage to convince to let you in this kind of building? You're a nerdy band from Britain. You shouldn't be allowed out here, should you?
I mean,
Williamsburg.
Goodness knows. Yeah, I mean, we just kind of stuck it out. I think it's just by sheer stubbornness.
Yeah.
Basically.
Now, you've had a new record come out recently.
We have, yes.
And that always makes me wonder the question, now that you've got a new record out, is there a record that you look back on and you kind of have fallen out in love with it a little bit? Because you've now got such an extensive catalogue of music to pick from.
There is and there isn't. And actually, I think it's fair to say there's songs on every record that you fall out of love with quite quickly. And sometimes there are songs on records that you really dislike, and then you listen to them years later and you realise that they're actually all right. I think as a record in general, our second is probably my least favourite, Ritual, and that's just because I think we made a lot of quite naive mistakes in how we produced that record and how we pulled it together. Having said that, I think there are some amazing moments on that record as well. So it'd be hard to actually pick.
I was going to say, I actually quite like Ritual.
Yeah.
I was about to be like, wait, what?
Yeah, and actually, it's hard to say that about sort of naivety and how you approach making a record, because they always mark a moment in time, and at the time we thought how we were making that record was great, and we loved it, and we loved the whole process, and I don't think we'd be making the music we are now, and I don't think we'd still be here now had it not been for that record. So there's a lot that I love about it as well. But no, I certainly think we don't have any regrets, and I think that we've done pretty well from the beginning of our career up till now.
I think pretty well might be an understatement. That's a small soft serving there. How about you? Do you find that you're on stage and you just feel like, oh, not this again, I'm really over this?
No, I genuinely never feel that. That's not an emotion I ever get. Like, I think like Harry said, like, whilst there's bits that you sort of, like, it's the same with any job. It just so happens that our job is quite interesting to other people. But there's things about it that you wish that you had done slightly differently. But then actually, what's the point in wishing that? Like, we learned a lot from doing stuff the way we've done it, and we achieved a huge amount of success at the start of our careers. So the projection was always going to go a little bit like that for a while, and that's inevitable. You can't, if you have a number one album, you can't top it. So you just got to aim to try and get back near there, and then you get to this stage where we've been doing it for 10 years, and it becomes like, I don't know. There's a sort of bloody-mindedness about, like, sticking with what we're doing and improving and tweaking what we do to make ourselves happy. And then knowing or seeing that we can still go out on tour even if we've been away for a few years, like on the last European tour, still end up selling a load of tickets and then come over to New York and sell out this place in a cool part of town. And like, that still surprises me, and I never get bored of knowing that we can do that. I think it's taken a lot of hard work to sort of ride out that sort of fallow period after you have a huge amount of success. But we've done it. I think we've done it quite well, and we have stuck to our guns to a certain degree as well.
I'm glad that you have. And now that you mentioned that you've been around for 10 years, if you had some advice, especially about touring, that you could give your younger selves, what would it be? Whether it's always bring more socks, don't poo on the bus.
Well, yeah, those both very good points. Socks are actually very important. I always travel with an enormous. I always travel with way more than I think I need, and then I always run out at some point inevitably. And I love clean socks. It's like there's nothing better than having a hot shower and putting on a really fresh pair of socks.
You've literally aged yourself 30 years in 10 seconds there. I'm just glad that you've got a matching pair on, to be honest.
One of the things that makes touring bearable is clean socks. I think that it's often easy to forget what a privilege it is to travel to these places with work, and to come to a city like New York, or actually any of the stops that we're going on this tour. It's just a great opportunity to wander around and experience a place. And I think I would encourage bands who haven't toured before to do that as much as possible. To try and, I actually think the best way to see a city is to walk around it, and we usually do try and get out and walk around a little bit everywhere we go. It sounds like such a simple thing, but it makes touring so much more pleasurable, and you look forward to every day because you don't know what you're going to find, and also it's just good for you. I think it's good for your mind. Good for your health.
Maybe not so much out here, but do you find that when you do walk around that you get mental stalkers, or have you ever had crazy fan interactions? Anyone tried to hug you inappropriately or dump tackle you in the middle of the street?
I have no problem with hugging. I'm quite happy to hug people. No, we don't get a huge amount of that, and I don't think I think it's fair to say we're not a particularly famous band. Certainly not famous as individuals, and I think it's also fair to say that our music is probably much more recognisable and famous, for want of a better word, than we are. Yeah. So no, we don't get stopped that much, but we do often meet fans after the show, and people hang around and people hang around the bus and stuff, and to get stuff signed and take pictures, and we're always, for anyone watching this who's thinking about doing that, we're really happy to do that. We like meeting our fans. We like saying hello. It's fun. It's a big part of what being on tour is all about.
So the two things that we've learned here: one, if you come to the show, bring fresh pairs of socks to throw. Leave the bra and pants at home. No one needs that. Fresh socks, important. 2, wait outside the bus and you will get stuff signed and a photo. Yeah. You've now basically incited a mass mob after every show outside of your bus.
We'll see, yeah.
We'll see. Now that you've got a new record out and now that you're on tour, what's sort of next for you? Will you have the natural sort of die-down period, or are you going to hit the festival circuit?
Yeah, I think we would love to. Well, we are doing certainly a fair amount of festivals already, and there's more sort of coming in day by day. And there's also new shows around Europe that we haven't done yet, which haven't been announced yet, so we announced that. But yeah, we do this tour of the States, and we go down to Mexico, which is huge for us because we haven't been for years, and Mexico is just one of those countries that has just completely embraced us for no apparent reason. They just really get it. They really love it, and so we're going down and doing some pretty huge shows there, which is amazing and very exciting. And then we're going to go back to the UK and do another run around the UK. So we'll be all over. Like last tour in the UK was great, really quite big venues, and we sold a lot of tickets. And there weren't many of the shows though, so we're going to go back and do a lot more shows, but in slightly smaller venues and like the second cities as opposed to Manchester and London. Well, we are doing London again, but like Manchester and Leeds and these sort of places. So we're all over. We're in the UK quite a lot, and I don't know, maybe after the end of summer we'll start thinking about gearing up to start working on a new record, because we took a really long time between Big TV and Friends, and I think we feel invigorated or reinvigorated by the reaction from people who like our band, at least, towards the new record, and I think we shouldn't leave it so long.
I agree. I 100% agree with the sentiment. Please continue making excellent music. If you could do any kind of, I don't want to say gimmick, but any kind of stage prop or stage trick or anything like that, like I'm talking about like erecting a giant Mars bar and having a dancer like burst out of it every night, like Sia or something. Is that something you thought of, or are you kind of still quite happy to have it? Because I'd say that your show's quite minimal when it's live. It's lots of overhead lights and beautiful neon and.
Yeah, well, we've done that kind of big light show thing before, and screens and all that, and I think for a lot of time while we were doing that, we always thought about what it was like touring before we had an album out. Before our first record came out, we toured with a very minimal lighting, like as minimal as it gets, like 4 par cans basically, and just a black stage apart from those 4 lights, and it was so impactful. And I think that it's great to embrace that simplicity and to try and do much more with less. And we have a great lighting guy on tour with us at the moment, Matt, who does that really well. I think there is space. I think there is space for small gimmicks, but I think theatrics. But I think you have to try and think about something very original, and that's really hard to do that.
I'd like the opportunity to do like costume changes. Like, you know, all the great divas get to do costume changes. I like to do costume changes, but the costume change would just be me changing out of the black jeans and t-shirt, or black jeans and black shirt that I'm wearing, into a fresh black shirt and black jeans, sort of every 3 songs, so I could just constantly be wearing brand new, fresh black clothing.
Maybe you could just have like a little white number on them, like 1,
Yeah.
2, 3. So people are like, oh, he's had a stage change.
It's one for the real geeks out there. They'd have to spot that I've done my costume change, but that would be really quite pleasant. I end up very sweaty at the end of a show, and I often think, God, it'd be nice if I was wearing clean clothes immediately after this show.
I'm sensing a theme here. How often do you get to wash your clothes on tour? I feel like not enough. Yeah, not enough is the answer here. When you're touring around the US and you're touring around the UK, what are the major differences in terms of crowd? If you notice any at all, or are they very much the same?
That's a tough question to answer because the crowds vary so much across the UK and across the US separately anyway. So in many places they're very similar. And in fact, I'd say there's probably a similar cross section of crowd in the UK and in the US, like depending on where you're playing. I don't want to name names, but you know, some places are like, you know, some places they're a little bit more subdued, and they're, you know, they perhaps
a bit more
think
intimate.
about it. Yeah, a bit more intimate. They think about it a bit more, and then some places just kind of go crazy. But both are good, and I think that we enjoy playing all of our shows. It's not very often that we have a bad crowd. You know, they've never got hostile.
I don't think that's a word that you'd associate with a White Lies gig. I'm going to go to a White Lies gig to get real hostile, you know, start burning the place down.
Yeah, heckling.
You play in somewhere like Glasgow, and you can be guaranteed that it's just going to be sort of bouncy and rowdy, and that's like as close to hostile as it gets. But the atmosphere is still quite good. Although I have seen a man being dragged from the front of a White Lies gig during one of our slow numbers. Actually, he just got like blood all over his face, and he was trying to fight security as he was being dragged out. I just think like, this is the wrong place for this. You've read this situation all wrong, and I think you just need to chill out a bit, you know.
Wow, I mean that's quite a strong reaction to a quiet song. Maybe he was just so enraged at the fact that you weren't playing enough high tempo songs.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, I think maybe.
I think someone probably spilt his pint, to be honest. And I don't think it was us.
Yeah, no.
I mean that just sound much more like Glasgow. Do you have any major regrets as a band, individually? Do you regret anything that you've done, any decision that you've made, any decision you didn't make, chances you missed, things that you did wrong, things that you did right? Is there anything that you kind of regret?
It's not going to be a great answer to this question, but no, not really.
That's fine.
No. Well, I think
that's still an answer.
I think we've certainly made mistakes as a band, but I don't regret any of them because, you know, it's like we were talking about earlier. You have good and bad moments on records and good and bad decisions that you made when you were recording on albums, and I think without those decisions you wouldn't be the band that you are, and we wouldn't be here. You know, we wouldn't be making the music we're making or playing the show the way we were playing it. You know, so and I think that the way things are going now, we're kind of really happy, and it's kind of going quite well. So yeah. I don't know if I'd change anything really.
The only thing that would be better about being bigger than we are would be if we could just fly business class everywhere. That's literally that's the only reason I'd want to be a bigger band than White Lies. Like, I think the level that we play at in general is really, really good. I love theatre size venues, and you come to US and do some slightly smaller gigs, more intimate ones. But I just wish we were just a little bit bigger, so we could
just
do
set up a Kickstarter, shall we?
What, to get us on business?
Patreon, the White Lies Patreon.
White Lies Patreon, get us business class.
Oh, nice, isn't it?
So just same level of touring. You don't have to pay any more for the tickets or anything. Just give us a bit of money so we can fly business.
Sometimes in festival season, you'll get on a plane like with other bands who are going to, you know, done the same festivals as you, whatever, and they're flying back to the UK. You see them up at the front in business class, and you think they're not even that much bigger than us. So I think they've.
Yeah, but they're just spending all their money on their flights.
Yeah, spunking all their money on really nice business class.
Yeah, and also don't live in London, probably.
Yeah,
so.
I was going to say that sounds about right. The record company's like, do you know what? We need another album out of you. We're going to start flying you business because it seems to, for some reason, encourage you to be more creative.
Yeah.
When was the last time either of you got really angry and smashed a piece of equipment, broke a drum set, anything like that?
I've never done that.
You've never raged out.
I've never broken anything. I don't know why I do when I get really angry. I think I internalise it a lot.
Yeah.
Just keep it bottled up.
You'll go on a spree at some point, maybe.
This is the future face of a sociopath.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever, and I, to be fair, I do have quite short wick, unfortunately. But I've got a lot better as I've got older. I'm 29 now, but I'd say when I was like mid-20s, I did have quite a short fuse. But to be honest with you, it's mainly to do with our tour manager. Like, if he doesn't organise something right, he's next door. Like really gets on my tits when he doesn't organise something bang on. Because I always
Do you know what I do? I mean, like the closest I've ever got to a rage thing is I often send.
you do.
I often send very angry emails, but like
They're deeply patronising.
and designed not to resolve any situation, but just to piss everyone off. And everyone, yeah. And I'd never mention it in face to face or talk about it. And actually, often the emails are sent and no one replies, and it's never talked about ever again. But I've sent a few angry emails like that to Charles and Jack probably as well at some point. But that's where my internal rage comes out in an angry email, often with very colourful language. Yeah.
Because that would always scare me. I always feel like that would be the scariest part of being live and missing a cue or a monitor going down or something like that. And then you just being like, I hate everything.
Yeah, you can't get angry about that. That's definitely part of playing a show. Yeah.
Does it happen to you guys before?
Of course. Yeah, it happens to everyone.
How did you deal with it?
Like, yeah, I mean, it's just a big part of being a musician is how to deal with those mistakes. Obviously, not making them is very important, but inevitably it's going to happen at some point or other. And especially if it's no fault of your own, it can throw you. But it's very easy. I think people don't expect to come to a live show and see something that's perfect and slick all the time. Like, right. I think it shows a lot of the sort of human side of performance and music with a few mistakes in a live show. And and you just ride it out and you make it work. Charles had the wrong bass on for like half a song. I was like, it's tune half a step out, which is like the most dissonant thing you could listen to, and it was fine. You just sort of
consummate professionals. That's
you
all
just
you
laugh about it, and just you make it very obvious that it was a mistake, and then move on, just swap it out, and it's not a big deal.
You guys, I need to take some lessons from both of you in just patience. So, just to kind of finish up, do you at the minute have any major influences in terms of your day-to-day life? Is there anything that you're listening to that you think is going to be the next big thing, or is there anything you listen to that is definitely motivating you or inspiring you at the minute?
Not the next big thing, because it's old, but I've been listening a lot to Steely Dan and across all of their records, and I've just totally fallen in love with so many of their songs. And Charles has been listening to Steely Dan for quite a long time, much longer than I have, and I kind of started listening to their music on the last album, and yeah, there's just so many of their songs I think you can get totally lost in and totally obsessed with. And when I really get into a song, I listen to it on repeat, like for hours at a time. And Steely Dan does that for me. So I find that very inspiring. I find their approach to songwriting and to production very inspiring as well. And I love it.
What about you? Anyone for you? Sorry, I realised I should talk into a microphone. I'm not a professional. I'm not used to this, as you can see.
There's a guy we're taking on tour with us, actually, who I think is on the cusp of some good stuff. He's already put out one fantastic record. It's called Alex Cameron. He's from Australia. His music is really a lot of fun. It's very good, and I'm looking forward to touring with him a lot. I think big things will happen for him. But I find him inspirational as like a sort of online presence, because his live show is him and a saxophone player. Now, his one album features no saxophone at all. So at some point he's just decided, I've got a mate who plays sax, and I'm going to do everything on a backing track. I'll sing, and then I'm just going to have this guy playing sax, because everyone loves when there's a saxophone player on stage. So he's doing that, and his online presence between him and his sax player, Roy Malloy, is just 10 out of 10 internet. It's really good. It's really good stuff.
Spicy memes.
Yeah, just like they just have a really great relationship, and they just seem to be very dry and funny. So I'm very much looking forward to spending some time with them.
Amazing. My final question is, if you could go on a holiday anywhere, where would you go? And importantly, would you take each other, or would you take each other, or would you go alone?
Have we have been on holiday before?
We went surfing together.
We went surfing together a lot. We went to Lisbon together.
Yeah, we've been a holiday without you, to be perfectly honest.
Actually, yeah, it's true. Well, I know what I'm going to do for my next holiday, but I don't know where I'm going to go. But I got married last year. In fact, I got married almost exactly a year ago.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And we haven't done a honeymoon yet, so I need to do a honeymoon. I don't know where it's going to be. Yeah.
You can't do that.
I've got to crack on with a honeymoon, I think. But that'll be my next one.
Will you be attending the honeymoon as well, I assume?
Well, actually, I also got married last year, and Harry.
We didn't get married to each other.
No, and Harry really needs to take me on that honeymoon. And Harry's wife and my wife, who are busy mates, did sort of try and almost plot like that you were going to come
almost happened
on my honeymoon.
Almost crashed
Jack's
honeymoon.
But I didn't want you on my honeymoon, to be perfectly honest.
Double honeymoon.
Yeah.
What fun. Thank you so much for all of your time, guys. I appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing rest of the year. I know that you're going to smash the US tour and the festival circuit. I can't wait to see you tonight. And thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.